Here's some from the old country.
Yeah.
That was not an enthusiastic year.
Yeah.
That was like an Eeyore kind of thing. Well, okay, all right. Well, maybe Lil. I don't want to offend you, Lil Rev. I really don't want to hear anything from the old country, but okay. You want to hear something from the old country?
Yeah.
So this is the music that I grew up hearing, and I try to always do like one of these songs. For me, it's like, staying in touch with my past, and I'd go to hang out with my grandparents. My grandparents spoke Yiddish when they didn't want us to know what they were saying, and all my other friends, Italian, German, Polish, Scandinavian, they all talked about similar experiences because it was a place and time, and I wish they hadn't done that, because I find the Yiddish language so beautiful. Yiddish is very Germanic, but the words are very colorful and they taste good in your mouth when you're saying them. And so I remember hearing these songs, but also picked up the most colorful words in the language. And that was kind of my experience growing up. Most Yiddishisms Americans know because comedians use them because they are such colorful words. And many Yiddishisms, very simple ones, are in the Webster's Dictionary that have worked their way into the American English vernacular, like oi, and they're not always the most pleasant words, like schmuck. These are Yiddish words that somehow, probably through comedians, became part of the American English vernacular. Well, for me, it was something that Grandpa and Grandma spoke, and my grandma had this really clever thing, because I don't know when they agreed or what the deal was. It was almost as if they said, let's not pass on the language, we have to speak English. And I'm told that my great-grandfather, he came to America in 1909. He is a Ukrainian Jew, and he left that part of the world. It's the part like the Crimea, which you hear a lot about. It's that part of the world where it's all this madness going on there. But he left because he couldn't practice his faith. He was a hardworking guy, and he was tired of what was then called pogroms and that kind of a thing. I'm told my grandpa had arms like Popeye, which was pretty odd in those days, and he didn't take a lot of crap. But he got to a place where he had to leave, and if he didn't leave, it was going to be trouble for his entire family. And so he came to the United States, stopped on Ellis Island, spent a little time on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and then worked his way to Sheboygan, Wisconsin. And I go south in the winter, and I often find myself thinking, like talking to my ancestors, why Sheboygan? Couldn't you have chose Santa Cruz, or couldn't you have chose like Tampa or someplace a little warmer, But that's where we wound up, because Sheboygan had 5 shoe factories. And I'm telling you the story because you all have a family story like this, where your ancestors left Ireland, or they left this place or that place. And we brought with us what we had from before. That was our food, our customs, our language. Most importantly, our language, because that's who we are. But somewhere along the way, we decided we better speak English most of the time. And then the language is lost. And so here's one of the songs that I retained, I remembered. And I got this phone call one day from a nursing home. It went something like this. Hello, Lil Rev. This is Edith. I work at the Jewish Home and Care Center. And we heard you know a lot of old songs. We were wondering if you could come and entertain our residents. And my eyes got real wide, and I thought, a gig! Because she said the magic word. She said, oh, we'll pay you. Okay. This was very early on, and I had never played in any retirement homes before, or nursing homes. And so I thought, okay. But just before it came time for the show, I remembered that, wow, I'm going to go sing for all these, 70, 80, 90-year-old Jewish folks. I better sing one Yiddish folk song, or I better do something like that, because they'll enjoy me singing Mama Tried by Merle Haggard. They'll enjoy me hearing me sing 8 Days a Week by the Beatles. They'll enjoy Love Me Tender by Elvis Presley. I'll take out my harmonica, I'll play Turkey in the Straw, I'll get their toes tapping, and an hour will go by like nothing. But maybe I could get away with not singing any of these old songs that I barely even know. But sure enough, I get to the last song, and this little lady in the front row, as close as you are to me, she jumps out of her seat, puts her hand on her hip like Sophie Tucker, and she goes, "A bissel of Yiddish, a bissel of Yiddish." Like looking right at me. You don't want to mess with some of these old Jewish ladies. They've seen the best and the worst of life. You don't want to mess with them, you know. So I'm like, okay. So all right, I had this in my back pocket, and I didn't think it was particularly good, but it was what I could do. So I started playing this old melody my grandma used to sing. It's called Tumbalalaika. And if you ever heard any of the music or saw the Broadway show Fiddler on the Roof, this song could have been in Fiddler on the Roof, because it's just like matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match, find me a find, and catch me a catch. It's this young guy in the little village, which in Yiddish is the shtetl, and he's been set up. It's a prearranged marriage, and he's not happy about it. He's nervous, and he's thinking, you know, this is what I'm looking for in a partner, and how can I trust someone else to find all these attributes? It's hard enough to find someone on my own, let alone, you know, allowing someone else to make that choice for me. And he's got, here's a good Yiddish word for you. He's got shpilkas. Can you say that? Shpilkas. It means you're standing on pins and needles. And he's nervous as can be. And all of a sudden he sees the bride come walking down the country lane. She's got these long brown flowing curls. And he looks and he sees how beautiful she is. And he loses himself in that. For a moment he goes, "Oi! Mein schöner Pano, mein schöner Welt," a beautiful face and a beautiful world. And he forgets about all these other things that he really wanted. You know, I mean, I want a partner who is patient. I want a partner who has a good sense of humor. I want a partner who's witty. I want a partner who likes to cook and eat as much as I do. And all these things that he's rattling off, but there's just this incredible beauty, and he forgets about all that other stuff. And she steps up to him, and the ceremony's about to begin. The cantor's humming some words, and the rabbi's getting ready. And he knows he only has a moment to connect with her and see if there's, like, you know, a spark there. So he rattles off this riddle that is this song that says, I'm gonna transliterate it for you. It says, "Tell me, darling, I love to know what is it that needs no rain to grow, what's not consumed even as it's burning, what weeps no tears even as it's yearning." And then she fires right back at him and surprises him. And she says, "You foolish boy, didn't you know a stone, does not need no rain to grow? A heart is never consumed even as it's burning. And look at me, I'm not weeping any tears, and yet I'm yearning." And he can't believe, you know, wow, she just nailed it, right? And his heart's going pitter patter, pitter patter, pitter patter, pitter patter. And he knew the matchmaker got it right. So they start singing this old song that all the old timers sang in the village. Steht a Woche ohne Tracht, Tracht und Tracht a ganze Nacht. Wem zu nehmen und nicht verschämen, wem zu nehmen und nicht verschämen. Now here's your part, listen up. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbalilai. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbalilai. Tumbalilai, wir spielen Balilai. Tumbalilai, fröhlich zu sein. Mädel, Mädel, ich will bei dir fragen, was kann wachsen, wachsen und bringen? Was kann brennen und den Teufel? Was kann be fading und tränen? And everybody sang these words. Tumbala, 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 tumbala. Tumbala, spiel Balilai, Tumbala. I'm not gonna lie, I was surprised. They loved the Merle Haggard. They loved some of the other old-timey and folky stuff I did. And they loved some of those classic rock tunes. I sang Proud Mary. And I was just, I was nervous. Oh man, I gotta sing a Yiddish song for the people who really knew it best. And as I got to this last verse that I'm about to sing to you guys, that little lady in the front row, she jumped up and snatched the microphone out from in front of me. I was a young, impressionable 24-year-old Lil Rev. I had never had that happen before. So I stepped to the side and I ceded the microphone to her, and she started singing that last verse, And it had so much soul, like a life, a long life, pretty well lived. And she started to sing these words to this last verse, and then all of a sudden she started crying. I'm like, what is going on here? And then I looked out at the audience and I noticed that a few other people were crying too. And I'm like, hold it, what's happening here? And I thought, Lil Rev, this is not about you, man. This is about an old song that we carry with us, and it kind of runs in our DNA. And when you sing it, you can smell the challah coming out of the oven on the Sabbath Eve. You can see the folks sitting around the candlelit table making their blessings and thanking God for all they've got and one another. It's one of those kind of things. This is not about you, Lil Rev. This is about a song that probably means more to her than you could ever possibly imagine, young man. And then I looked down and I'd have to glance at her forearm. And I noticed there were numbers tattooed there. And then, I don't know why I didn't see this before, but I looked out a little more carefully into the audience and I saw others who had numbers on their arms as well. And I wish that I was Harry Potter and I could wave a magic wand and undo all the pain and suffering we've done to one another, and I'm sorry to say we keep doing to one another. But I couldn't do that. And I felt kind of helpless, to be honest with you. I was like, wow, this humanity is a hard thing to bear sometimes. Well, what can you do, Lil Rev? Well, you should probably leave here and learn a few more of these Yiddish songs because they obviously matter. And not everyone's going to want to hear them, but every once in a while you'll be able to get away with singing one. And maybe we'll all be a little bit better for it because we shared a little piece of ourselves. Maybe we understand or appreciate one another for our differences. That last verse. Nadische Bocher, Gustav, Beschlecken, Wachsen, Wachsen.
Yeah.